Well, hey there, weekend warriors, and welcome back to the Paper Prison. It is I, your host, the Comics Prisoner, trapped or sentenced inside a page of original art for my Crimes Against Comics art. And today is a great one from Avengers number 23, volume 1, penciled by Don Heck and inked by Jazzy Johnny Romita, who then did not need to be called John Romita Sr. This is continuing our series of Heck of an Inker, and like I said, today we have John Romita in a beautiful splash page. And you know, I can only this is around the early on in the series run, mid-20s, where everything is still new, and I just can only imagine Stan Lee's what he was feeling at this time, the very so cautious optimism at what's going on here. You see, Stan had been around for quite some time at this point in his career. He'd seen trends come and go, and even though the superhero trends seem to be gaining lots of steam, he's seen others die out. Why shouldn't this one? But I get the feeling he had to know he was doing something special with his collaborators. He had to know this was not like other things he had done. Now, again, he was like working on a severely limited budget. He was a man who was if not single-handedly holding aloft an industry, definitely supporting a company all by himself. And he did it in some very innovative ways, which I'm sure you've all heard about. We could talk about that in another show. But again, as I've said, comic art is as much alchemy as art. It's not just about the talents of the artist, but the right combinations of talents. And Stan, even though he was just, moving day to day, thinking on his feet, working from his gut, he had enough experiences that his gut decisions were incredibly effective. And here we have one matching up Dashing Don Heck with Jazzy Johnny Romita, and it's just a wonderful collaboration. As I've said before, there were certain inkers that worked well with Don Heck, and just really, it was like a real passing of the baton. It wasn't just one inker finishing another artist's expression. It was Heck brought something to the table, John Romita brought something to the table, and as you can see, is an incredible expression and understanding of what is attractive to the viewer and the audience. I mean, you see his trademark line, you see his rendering of beautiful female faces, of rendering luxurious hair. It's just another perfect product put out by Marvel at that time. There was a quote I heard once where Stan said, and he said this with total humility, he said, there was a time there for about 2 or 3 years where we could do no wrong. And you know what? He was absolutely correct. There was a couple, 3 years there where they were just putting out just consistently perfect work. Stuff that had never been seen before. All right, so one last thing before we close up here. I just want to point out that, and this is just my opinion, but I think I'm dead on this. I'm pretty certain both of these men were heavily influenced by Milton Caniff's Steve Canyon, if only because of their age. Now, it is widely known that Johnny Romita is influenced by Steve Canyon, by Milton Caniff's work, although it's funny because you can barely see it in there. He has his own style, but yeah, you can see the influences. And here we have two artists who probably very much were fans of, if not influenced by it, and they come at it from two different angles, and when they come together, they're one unique thing. So, this has been another Heck of an Inker, and where can we find this kind of work? Or where can you read these works? Well, as ever, go to your local comic shop. They have plenty of collections of the Avengers over the years. I always recommend the Essentials volume because I love seeing these things in beautiful black and white. And let us not forget, for a low monthly subscription price, you can get the Marvel app and have their entire library for your reading enjoyment. So, this has been the Comics Prisoner, bidding you a fond adieu. And remember, 4 walls do not a prison make, but paper can make a very cool prison. See you. Hey, but hold on there. Hey, don't run off just yet. I have a little addendum I want to make to this video. First off, I want to apologize for the relative quality of the image we used. I don't always get a choice of what page they shove me into, and I really want to talk about this era of Marvel Comics art. Specifically, around this time where Don Heck was working on Avengers, and the inkers that he worked with had at least 3 great ones, I think about the top of my head. In this one, of course, we had John Romita inking him, and while the lines in this splash page may seem a little thick, they still have his trademark sensitivity and gracefulness and elegance, and it just brought something unique to his pencils. Aside from just sensitivity to the folds and the drapery, I really like the 2D flat decorative blacks and Scarlet Witch's opera gloves, that go halfway up her arm. That might have been a riff on what Kirby was doing or his own thing. Like I said, he was heavily influenced by Kniff. That's up for you to decide. But I really recommend that you take this opportunity to look back on the first Heck of an Inker installment and compare and contrast Wally Wood's inking on Heck to John Romita's inking on Heck. See how they differ, what the different things they bring to the table, and also their similarities. So I want to thank you for hanging with me this long. We're picking up steam here in the Comics Prison. Things are going to get a little more refined, and I'm hoping that if I could just do a little more community service to the comics industry, I might be let out of this Comics Prison. Although maybe I won't want to. Maybe I'll have my own Shawshank Redemption here. All right, so now this time, until next time, 4 walls do not a prison make, but comics can make a very cool prison. Adios.